Tech abuse and what you can do about it. This presentation was created for the Niagara Sexual Assault Center's 2021 Take Back the Night event. In this presentation, we'll look at tech abuse tactics often used against women and girls. Then we'll explore strategies that deal with these challenges and keep you safer online and on your phone. This presentation includes examples of abuse, so please take care of yourself if this might be triggering for you. When thinking about gender-based violence, technology, and safety, there are three things to keep in mind. First, everything that's done digitally creates a record. Some records are more permanent and detailed than others. Many of these records are fairly easy for other people to access. Second, women and girls have the right to use technology. That might seem obvious, but many cyberbullies want to silence women online. As well, when something bad happens to a woman online, well-meaning people may sometimes tell her to stay away from technology. But our schooling and jobs often depend on it, and we connect with people who really support us through our social media accounts, texts, and emails. There's important information online and lots of fun and really interesting stuff that we have every right to access. The third thing to keep in mind is before responding to tech abuse, safety plan. The abusive person will likely escalate the abuse if they know you're onto them. Let's say you realize your partner is snooping around in your social media accounts. Or maybe you've discovered that your ex has hidden a webcam in your home. Or possibly someone or a group of people are saying a lot of mean things about you in social media. Before reacting to any of these attacks, please connect with people who make you feel safe. Work with them to make a plan that will support you to feel physically and emotionally safe if the abuse escalates. Once you have a safety plan, then you can think about what you want to do about the tech abuse. You might also want to preserve some evidence of it. Taking time to plan will give you the space to think about your best next steps. The Niagara Sexual Assault Center is a great place to tap into if you find yourself in this situation. Their 24-hour support line number is 905-682 4584. Just like in real time, some groups of people are often targeted by abusive people online. Young women are very frequently targeted. 1 in 3 young women report that they've been sexually harassed online, and this number has doubled since 2017. In comparison, only 1 in 10 young men report this form of violence. Abusive partners and ex-partners use technology to track, harass, and intimidate the people they supposedly love. Some studies have found that tech abuse happens to 80 to 90% of women who are in or leaving abusive relationships. Women who are in the public sphere are also very vulnerable. The UN Human Rights Council announced in 2020 that 73% of women journalists are attacked online, which far exceeds men's rates. And women politicians are twice as likely to be attacked online in comparison to their male peers. Like other forms of gender-based violence, tech abusers are more likely to target racialized women and people of the LGBTQ two-spirited communities. And less experienced people like children and teens and people who are less experienced and comfortable with technology are also more often attacked. In the next few slides, we'll look at tech abuse that particularly targets women and girls. The non-consensual distribution of images is a category of tactics that really impacts women and girls. It includes rape images, that's the sharing of images of sexual violence. Sextortion, which is threatening to share a person's intimate image with others if the person doesn't provide more images, pay money, or have sex with the perpetrator. Revenge porn is a common tactic used after a relationship has ended. A woman may have originally consented to share an intimate image, and now, to get back at her, her ex partner shares the image with others. Deep or shallow fakes and nudes are videos and photos, usually of sexualized content, into which a woman's image has been inserted. Crib shots are exploitive photos taken of women in public, usually without them knowing. Unsolicited images are sexual images a person sends to a woman that she didn't request or want. 1 in 2 women using dating apps receive such images. Luring is another form of gender based violence that can occur in the online world. The perpetrator creates a false image online. Sometimes the false identity is very convincing and detailed. For example, it may appear on different social media platforms. The perpetrator uses this identity to trick people. They might be tricked into sharing intimate photos, sending money, or meeting up with the perpetrator, who then sexually assaults them or even kidnaps them. For example, a perpetrator may pretend to be a lonely girl who wants a friend, when he is actually an older man. He may target other lonely young people and convince them to share intimate images. Luring often targets children and teenagers, but it also happens to adults, especially through dating sites. Let's turn now to cyberstalking. Cyberstalking is very common when a couple breaks up or when one person really wants to be in a relationship with another person who's not interested. Cyberstalking tactics are also used by predators looking to lure someone. Some tactics require at least some physical contact with the other person, their home, and possessions, particularly their devices like their phone. In many cases, cyberstalking behavior is criminal harassment, so it is against the law. Examples of cyberstalking include repeated messages, texts, and calls to monitor a woman and harass her, checking another person's device or account history to find out what they have done online and who they've been in contact with, hacking into someone's account or device, including guessing passwords, the use of spyware, which comes in the form of small hidden devices like webcams and apps that are installed into phones, laptops, and computers. Cyberstalking often involves using location software and mechanisms like GPS on a car, find my phone and share my location settings on a phone, and geotagging on images. Another cyberstalking tactic involves using social media and other online searches to gather information about a person. If the people were in a relationship, they may have shared service providers' accounts, and abusers use this account to monitor their partner's phone and text activities. Remote controlled devices and services like Alexa and other smart home assistants, security cameras, and home utilities and appliances can also be used by perpetrators to monitor a woman in her home. This sort of technology is often called smart home tech. A final group of tactics that we'll look at are those used for cyberbullying. Like the non consensual distribution of images, these tactics require an audience. 3 of these tactics have been around since the early days of the internet. Trolling is when one person deliberately baits another with the intent to provoke a reaction and cause emotional and psychological harm. Doxing involves using the internet to find information out about a person and then distributing that information across the internet with the intent to cause personal harm. For example, an abusive person may search for a trans woman's dead name and then share that name and old pictures of her in social media. A cyber mob is a group of people that targets an individual, usually on social media or in a discussion forum. Zoom bombing is a new form of cyberbullying. With bombing, an abusive person breaks into a video conference meeting to make and post offensive comments and images. Using passwords and keeping the meeting private are the best ways to avoid Zoom bombing. Hearing about all these tactics can make the online world feel like a very scary place. But there are lots of ways to make your online experience positive and safe, and ways to overcome tech abuse when it happens. Let's talk about some of these strategies. First, having people to connect with is so important. Many people who have dealt with online violence talk about the importance of their personal network of friends, family, advocates, and allies. These folks help them heal from the trauma of digital violence. It's great to connect with people in person if possible. It's also nice to have people in your life that aren't in your online world at all, like an older relative or your pet. But sometimes our greatest allies live far away, so we rely on technology to help us connect. These relationships remind us that there are wonderful benefits to technology. The people in your community can help you make a safety plan if you experience tech abuse. They can also help you think critically about any new people you meet online, so you are less likely to be tricked. If you don't have anyone you can talk to, or you feel frightened or very angry because of something that has happened to you online, there are also great community services out there just waiting to support you. The Niagara Sexual Assault Center is one of them. Here are 4 basic tips to help prevent different forms of tech abuse. Lock your device. Use a PIN or password to prevent other people from accessing your phone or computer. Avoid biolocks like fingerprints or voice because these are really easy to manipulate. Protect and update your passwords. Figure out what works best for you for managing passwords. Some strategies for creating tough passwords include using words that aren't English and using the first letter of each word in a sentence. You can also use tools like LastPass, which require 2-step verification. Pay attention to privacy settings. This is especially important in social media. You can adapt many privacy settings now to meet your personal needs. However, privacy settings often change, so you'll need to stay on top of this. And finally, log out of any accounts, such as email or social media, when you are done with them. This way, if someone accesses your device, they can't access your account. Let's look at some ways to deal with online attacks. If you or someone you know has experienced cyberbullying on websites, discussion forums, or social media, most platforms have policies about abusive behavior, and some even have help centers. However, they vary in how well and quickly they respond. Different platforms have different requirements for responding to online attacks. Follow their instructions for asking for assistance carefully. Expect a slow response. Connect with your community for support while you wait to hear back from the platform. Think about collecting evidence of the attack and of documenting how long you've had to wait to get help from the platform. For tips about contacting different social media platforms, visit techsafety.org. If you or someone you know wants to remove personal images that are online, here are 2 websites that can help. Need Help Now is Canadian. It's designed for youth 18 and younger. However, much of the information is applicable to everyone. There are instructions for removing images from various platforms like Snapchat and YouTube. Because platforms change and new ones emerge, these instructions are updated quarterly on Need Help Now. There's also information about cyberbullying on this site. Cyber Civil Rights is an American site. Its online removal guide covers many different platforms. There's a lot of helpful information on this site, but because it's American, remember that the legal information will only be applicable to the US. Before an image is removed, you may want to document what happened. Why should you document these things? By documenting online abuse, you create a sort of digital rape evidence kit. You have a choice about whether or not you use this evidence now, in the future, or ever. Take a screenshot of the image or comment. If possible, include the website address. It may be very hard emotionally to keep a copy of something so painful, and you will need to keep that digital information in a very safe space. Evidence like this can help tell your story to support people so you don't have to get into all the details. It will also help you identify patterns in the abuse or to recognize if the abuse is escalating. This evidence may also be helpful if you go to the police or to court. Many women have bad experiences through dating and friending apps. Here are some tips on how to navigate these sites. When you create your profile, limit how much information you share, especially about where you live and the places you visit frequently. Use a photo in your profile that's different from the ones you have in social media, so it's less easy for abusive people to find you in Google searches. When you meet someone you like, Google that person and check them out in social media as well. You may want to make sure Your goal is to make sure that this is their true identity and that they aren't trying to trick you. Take it slowly. Share information about yourself carefully. Think about how any intimate pictures you want to share could be used by this new person. If the person seems too good to be true, or if you have a bad gut feeling, trust yourself. If you have problems with the person, block them. Report them to the website. You likely are not the first woman who has had a bad experience with this person. Maybe you can be the last. Once you are confident that you'd like to meet someone for a date or a friend in real time, here are some tips on how to make the meetup safe. Video chat first to make sure the person matches their profile. If they won't do this, they're hiding something. Before you meet up, share a screenshot of the person's profile information with a friend. Let your friend know where you're going. Meet the new person in a public place. Throughout your time with the new person, watch your beverage so that nothing can get put into it. If you and the new person decide to go someplace else, let your friend know where you are. Look after your own transportation. Don't rely on the new person to drive you home. Tech abuse is very common after abusive relationships end. If you have been in a relationship in which there was abuse, here are a few things to think about. Change the password for all your accounts, including banking, social media, email, work, your job, etc. If possible, get a new phone, as the abusive partner may have installed spyware on your phone. Think about your social media accounts. The abusive person may track your activities through social media. You may want to unfriend some people and increase the privacy settings. Or maybe you want to create a whole new social media account to which you invite only your closest allies. If you and your ex-partner shared an internet service provider account like Bell or Rogers, close the account and move to a different service providers. Abusers are known to use these accounts to monitor their ex-partners. Some tech abuse is against the law. For example, some cyber stalking behavior may be criminal harassment. Having sexual images involving a minor is also a crime. Online abuse may also be applicable to restraining orders and parenting orders in family court. As we covered at the beginning of this presentation, all digital activity creates a record, which, if you can access it, may be used as evidence. Rules for digital evidence of abuse vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Speak to a lawyer to understand how the law may apply to the specific circumstances of a case. This brings us to the end of this presentation. Here are some resources to support you further. For many different safety tips, visit techsafety.org. The sites that help with removing images that we covered are needhelpnow.ca and cybercivilrights.org. Visit their online removal section. The online section of YWCA rightsguide.ca was designed specifically for girls and young women. Information about Canadian criminal law and tech abuse, as well as lots of other information, is available in the extensive Tech Safety Toolkit on bcsth.ca. Women leaving abusive relationships who have family law concerns will want to visit lukesplace.ca/tech-abuse. Want to take action on gender-based violence online? Check out blockhate.ca, takebackthetech.net, and act.eff.org. Keep safe and keep connected.